What is up, ladies and gentlemen? CJ the Cheese DJ here, and we are back with a brand new top 5 for you guys today. And today we are taking a look at top 5 scouting dinos in Ark Survival Evolved. Now guys, we've tried to keep this as broad as possible. Oh my god, I have a shiny forehead. We've tried to keep this as broad as possible, include as many aspects of the game as possible. So by aspects, I mean traveling by water, traveling by air, traveling by land. And pretty much we've just based this list on whether or not you want to go around looking for people's bases. You know, you kind of want to be stealthy. You don't want to be too noticeable. So trying to discover people's bases and people's locations. So guys, without further ado, let's jump straight into the list at number 5. Alrighty guys, so coming in at number 5, we have none other than the Beelzebufo. Now, the Beelzebufo is great. In my opinion, he is one of the best scouting dinos, pretty much one of the best dinos to traverse the maps of Ark. Main reason being is that he's pretty much ambidextrous, which means he can cover land and water. Now you can currently see here he does have the ability to jump on land. It does utilize stamina, but while you're actually up in the air, you do regain a little bit of stamina. So these guys are really good for covering quite a bit of land, as well as that if you do come onto little tiny waterways or even the ocean, your Beelzebufo can swim through the ocean with a relatively fast speed. You guys can see here, boom. We're in the water and he's swimming pretty damn fast. Now the cool thing about this is that it doesn't utilize stamina, unless of course Microraptors decide to knock you off your freaking mount. But other than that, Beelzebufos make great mounts for scouting around enemy bases or enemy players. Now another really cool thing about the Beelzebufos is if that you do come into contact with enemy players, you can actually knock them out. Because Beelzebufos have a torpor— oh my god, are you serious right now, Microraptor? Because the Beelzebufos have a torpor-inducing attack, they actually allow you to knock out enemy players or enemy dinos. Granted, you would need a lot of melee damage in order to knock out dinos, but riders are a little bit different because they're not as durable, unless of course they've got really high fortitude. But Beelzebufos are great for this purpose, and like I said, they are pretty hardy as well. Their stamina usage is pretty good, and I think there's just an all-around great mount. The only thing that's lacking on them, in my opinion, is the weight aspect of things. You would need to make yourself relatively light if you do plan on taking your Beelzebufo out to scout for enemy bases, because he's not got the greatest amount of weight. Now obviously you can level him up, which is an option if you so choose to. He also has 2 attacks, which you can see here, his tongue darting one and his widespread one, which makes it really easy and really good to get enemy players and knock them out. So guys, the Beelzebufo comes in at number 5 on the list. Alrighty guys, and coming in at number 4, we have none other than the Griffin. The Griffin, in my opinion, is once again one of the greatest scouting dinos, mainly due to its reason to do the glide attack. Now you can see here this glide allows him to travel at extremely fast speeds, pretty much allowing him to be one of the fastest flyers in the game. I do believe the Snow Owl is slightly faster in terms of its diving ability, but the Griffin allows itself to pretty much propel itself forward at extreme speeds, allowing you to get away from enemy players as well as traverse the map really fast. Now this obviously will help you scout out enemy bases as well as enemy dinos or players because of this particular reason. Now if you are on your way to a raid after you've scouted out the base, the Griffin has the capacity to hold an extra 2 riders. One in its passenger seat, which you can see right here. Boom! We're in the passenger seat. And another one while in his talons. So the Griffin really excels at carrying people, allowing it to carry 3 of your tribe mates, including yourself. So that is really good. Now, as well as that, if he does manage to get in a tussle, he can handle himself pretty well. One thing you do need to watch out for though, once you get yourselves a Griffin, is his stamina. You guys saw there, we pretty much landed. He's only got 607 stamina, so you would definitely need to level that up. I would also level a bit into weight. They do have quite a bit of health, so they are rather durable, and I wouldn't worry too much about the health aspect of things. You definitely want to level up that stamina on the Griffins. Now, like I was saying, you can also deal with many large carnivores and combatants with the Griffin due to his dive bomb attack. Now you guys can currently see here we've got some Diplodocuses and Paraceratherium. So he does have a diver bomb attack, which is that there you guys just saw, and that was 344 damage. We just outright killed a Carno. Granted, it was only level 12, but he does have another attack, which is his down swiping attack. So you pretty much do a downward swing and you click with your primary attack button, and you guys saw there were dealt 563 damage. Now you can actually pull this off quite a few times before the effect ends, and if you do manage to subsequently pull it off, you can do a lot of damage with a Griffin. Now that is also excluding the fact that we have not leveled up his melee damage, and it is pretty shitty melee damage. So guys, the Griffin comes in at number 4 as one of the greatest scouting dinos in Ark. Alrighty guys, and coming in at number 3, we have the Rock Drake. Now, the Rock Drake is in at number 3 and not a little bit higher, just due to his taming difficulty. Now, you guys will see that number 2 and number 1 are going to be much easier to tame than the Rock Drake. That's the only reason he's a little bit higher, but the Rock Drake makes a great scouting dino. So he doesn't have the ability to fly like the Griffin does, which, you know, is kind of understandable since he is on Aberration, but he does have the ability to glide, which enables him to fly, in my opinion, a little bit faster than some flyers. As well as that, he can also do that dash ability there that you guys can see, and that allows him to traverse terrain a little bit faster, as well as navigate the terrain a little bit easier. Now, one of the key differences between him and, say, some of the other land-based dinosaurs that you could use for scouting is that he has the ability to go invisible. Boom! Now, obviously you can still sort of see him, but if you are scouting out enemy bases and you do get spotted by one of them and they're obviously trying to PvP you, you can utilize this ability to try and get away from them with his dashing ability. Now, easily you could just round a corner, hide behind a rock or a cliff face, and they could completely miss you as long as you don't run out of stamina. You do have to be very careful and select when you use it, but it has saved me more than once because of its invisibility. Now, as well as that, he also has the ability to climb up any surface. You guys saw in between jumping through those rocks that he was able to climb up pretty much anything, and you can activate this by right-clicking or using your secondary attack. Now, like I said, this does enable you to climb up any surface pretty much. These guys act like Megalanias in that they have that ability. Now, in my opinion, it is a great ability, and especially while gliding, it does make things a little bit easier on yourself. But yeah, the Rock Drakes are just such monumental scouting dinos. Now, as well as that, their melee damage is also really powerful. You guys can see here, we currently have a tech saddle on, so we also have access to the tech saddle. And you can see here, we don't have any element, which is always wonderful. But his melee damage alone is easily enough to deal with most of the toughest dinos on Ark. So you can see here, boom, we've got element in, and it fires at ridiculously fast rates, and it gives you that ability of using ranged attacks before you come into close proximity of your melee attacks. As well as that, he's also a really good swimmer. Like, he's probably one of the fast swimmers in Ark. Well, one of the faster land-based swimmers in Ark, and you can see that he moves pretty fast. Now, as well as that, you also have two extra passenger seats, which you can see there, and this does enable you to carry extra tribe mates if you want to go scouting together. So guys, the Rock Drake comes in at number 3 on the list. Alrighty guys, and coming in at number 2, we have everyone's favorite marsupial, the Thylacoleo. Now, this guy, in my opinion, is the greatest land-based scouting dino you can get. Main reason being because he's obviously pretty decently fast. You can see there, we're moving at a decent speed. He can also climb up walls vertically, which helps extremely well if you're in an environment where there's lots of verticality, especially enemy bases. You can actually scale gates and stuff like that with the Thylacoleo to go around scoping stuff out. As well as that, you can also utilize this to do a pounce sort of attack onto enemy targets, as well as enemy players. Now, if you do pull this attack off on enemy players, you actually pin them to the ground, and you can potentially kill them like that. If they don't have decent armor and stuff like that, you can kill them, and it makes it a whole lot easier. Now, these guys can easily go toe-to-toe with Rexes, you know, any large sort of carnivore, Spinos, Carnos, Brontos, anything like that. The Thylacoleo can pretty much take, because he's got a really solid amount of HP, a really solid chunk of damage, and he's just great. You guys can see here that this was a 150 tame. He's come out with 6,000 health, 329 melee damage, and they also have a really decent amount of weight as well as stamina. This makes them, in my opinion, one of the greatest land-based scouting dinos you can use, but you guys might have different opinions. If you do, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. Now, the only thing as well that is a little bit of a downside with these guys is that they can't actually carry more than one player. However, if you do pump up their movement speed, their stamina, and their weight, you can easily turn this guy into a scouting dino, allowing you to scout enemy bases, as well as escape from enemies. So guys, I would definitely recommend taming up a Thylacoleo if you haven't already, and if you do have one tamed up, definitely utilize him to run around the map looking for enemy bases as well as enemy players. These guys can take a beating from absolutely anything and everything. So guys, Thylacoleo comes in at number 2 on the list. Alrighty guys, and finally coming in at number 1, we've kind of paired these two together because I feel like you kind of can't use one without the other, if that makes sense. I mean, you can, obviously, because you can use the RG to go around gathering stuff like that, and you can use your Parasaur for base defense, but I feel like these two together definitely class themselves as a scouting dino. So guys, the Parasaur and the RG. Now, these guys are great scouting dinosaurs, namely due to the Parasaur. So the Parasaur, due to his TLC update, has the ability to pretty much tell you where there are enemy players or enemy tames or wild dinos, as you guys will see. He'll easily be able to mark them up on your map as bright red circles, and you can actually see where they are located. Now, it doesn't look like there are any carnivores nearby. There we go, you can see there the Pteranodon's lit up. So if we fly over here with our Parasaur, he'll light up. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, how are you going to utilize this? The main reason being is you can actually fly around and find hidden bases with the Parasaur, due to his ability, obviously, to scout out and show the red dots on enemy tames as well as enemy players. Now, this can potentially allow you to, like I said, find hidden bases as well as find bases in general. If you know there's a base hidden in the forest and you bring your Parasaur along and he lights up the red dots all through the forest, you're going to be seeing the enemy base, and that's going to allow you to scout. Now, as well as that, the Parasaur also highlights Purlovias, or Reaper Kings, or anything buried underground. Now, this can be extremely effective when raiding or just looking for loot in general. You can see there all the red dots lighting up on dangerous enemies, and the Parasaur itself has quite a large range of turret options. So you can see here, if we come into our Parasaur's inventory, you can see alert settings. You can also set to turret mode, which is what you will be using him for, to detect the enemies. But you can see the targeting is players only, players and teams only, creatures only, or all. Now, like I said, this allows you to pretty much scope out and scout enemy bases, enemy tames, and just a whole bunch of goodness if you find some Purlovias or Reaper Kings buried underneath the ground. So guys, the Parasaur and the RG definitely come in at number 1, and once you find said tames or said base, you can then use your RG to ferry all the resources and goods after you've raided them back to your base because of their incredible weight capacities. So guys, that'll wrap up the list today. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of the list down below. I tried to include as many sort of aspects of ARK as I could. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe down below for more, and if you've got any more top 5s that you'd like to see, let me know down below in the comments. But on that, guys, thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.